My name is Cerise Castle, and I am a journalist. In the summer of 2020, I was working for a local radio station here in Los Angeles, and I was out covering the George Floyd rallies that were happening across the country, across the world. And I was shooting photos of people protesting, and while I was doing that, two cars with police officers on them in riot gear rolled into the area where people had gathered, and they shot people with less lethal munitions. And although I identified myself as press, I was shot, and the resulting injuries landed me in the hospital. A few days after that happened, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department killed a teenager who was working at his job in the Compton area. Very quickly after this young man was killed, his name is Andres Guardado, it was reported that his killing may have been part of a gang initiation.
And there are some new allegations against the deputy involved in Guardado's case who did not fire his weapon. Civil rights attorneys accuse Christopher Hernandez of being part of what some call a sheriff's department clique or gang.
While I was bedridden, I started researching the history of the gangs in the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and I found out that this dates back at least 50 years. I spent 6 months researching deputy gangs within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Conservatively, I estimate I read about 100,000 pages of legal filings. And what I came away with was a 15-part series detailing 18 gangs that I was able to confirm the existence of within the department. There are the Little Devils, Posse, the Wayside Whiteys, the 2000 Boys, the 3000 Boys, the Jump Out Boys, the Banditos, the Executioners, the Spartans, the Cowboys, the Rattlesnakes, and the Tasmanian Devils. They have killed 19 people, all of whom were men of color, several of whom were in a mental health crisis when they were killed. Government from the county level, the state level, and the federal level has known about this issue since the early 1990s, and no significant action, policy change has been brought forth.
So let's do a quick run through of the gangs of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. All of them have stuff in common. You usually have official gang tattoos, a hand signal, and a way to join, usually by shooting or killing a civilian or doing something like falsifying paperwork. These are just a few of the gangs operating within the LA Sheriff's Department. The Wayside Whiteys. The Wayside Whiteys was a gang of white deputies at the Pitchess Detention Center in northern LA County in the 1980s and 1990s. Their sign was having their middle fingers crossed to create a W for white. The Linwood Vikings. The Vikings were a gang based out of the Linwood Station. Their tattoo was of a Viking, and their hand sign was an L made with the thumb and index finger for Linwood. And they were one of the most powerful and most violent gangs. A lot of their members became leaders in the department. The 3000 Boys. The 3000 Boys were based out of the Men's Central Jail in downtown LA. The 3000 Boys are particularly violent because that's where the department would transfer deputies convicted of crimes to keep them away from the public. The Jump Out Boys. The Jump Out Boys operated across the county in the Operation Safe Streets unit. Their tattoo was of a skeleton with glowing red eyes holding a revolver in the dead man's hand, a popular poker holding among law enforcement officers. They kept their manifesto in a notebook. The Regulators. Out of the Century Station you have the Regulators, who allegedly have many members working in department leadership. The Executioners. At the Compton Station you have the Executioners. Their tattoo is of a skeleton with a Nazi helmet holding an assault rifle. Black people and women are not allowed to join the gang. The Banditos. The Banditos operate mainly out of the East LA station, and their tattoo is of a skeleton wearing a sombrero with a smoking revolver and a sheriff's badge. They have a culture of working backwards, arresting or shooting civilians and coming up with probable cause later by planting and manufacturing evidence. There are others, like the rattlesnakes, the pirates, and the Buffalo Soldiers, that we know a lot less about.
Without that badge, you are nothing, motherfuckers! You are nothing! You get the pay!
Anyway, I'm here today at a rally, 2-year anniversary of the killing of Paul Rea, 18-year-old young man at a traffic stop by Hector Saavedra, who's East LA Sheriff Deputy, who was a prospect for the Deputy Sheriff gang Los Banditos. Now, how do I know that? Because 2 deputies who work here were interviewed on national TV.
LA Sheriff Deputy Hector Saavedra Soto. Is he a prospect for the Banditos?
Yes, he is.
He's a prospect.
Paul Rea is my son. He was murdered on June 27th, 2019. It was supposed to be a traffic stop. They pulled him out of their cars with guns. When they were questioning why they're getting pulled over, they were scared because they didn't know why they were getting pulled over. And they're getting pulled over with guns, to their heads, and being told that if they move, they're gonna shoot their fucking heads off. They pulled the driver out of the car, and